Okay, hey everybody. We are going to spend a little bit of time today talking about a new tool that I imagine you're going to use quite frequently inside of After Effects. So I'm going to make a new composition, and we'll just use the HDTV 1080 by 24 preset, and we'll make this, I guess, 10 seconds is perfectly long enough. It doesn't really matter. And so we have the tools that you normally use. We have the selection tool and the hand tool and the zoom tool and the rotate tool. There it is there. But today we're going to talk about this rectangle tool. The shortcut is Q for rectangle tool, if you want that. But we'll talk about the rectangle tool. Now, I will say this. We have the ability with the rectangle tool to draw on a blank composition and draw and make a colored shape, which makes what's called a shape layer. And this is a shape layer with a red fill and a white stroke. And it puts a little layer in here called the shape layer and makes a rectangle in the shape layer, etc. And we can make more rectangles in the shape layer, etc. And that's great and that's wonderful. Really cool to make these red and white shapes if you want to. But here's the truth. Today, we're not going to talk about shape layers. I know. So why am I showing you shape layers? I'm showing you shape layers because if you find yourself making a shape layer today, in any of the lesson that we do here, if you're playing along and you find yourself making a color and you see a color, that's wrong. Don't do that. And so you've done something wrong. And the point being is that if we take a layer and we have a layer like USA map, I'll just use Command-Alt-F and make that bigger. If we have a layer and you're clicked on a layer, when you use the rectangle tool, you do not make a shape layer. Instead, you make a mask. Now, what's a mask? Well, a mask is a cutout, basically. It's a cropping tool. It makes a shape that cuts out, or if you put something else behind it, it puts something to superimpose over top of it. It puts this little markation there around this that shows that it puts it over there, and we can make a shape layer. And a shape layer, or sorry, not a shape layer, a mask, falls in this category of masks. And now you see that we have this new category here beyond transform tools. We had the transform tools, anchor point, position, scale, rotation, opacity. We also have this new section here called masks. And now we have mask one, and mask one has some controls that we can adjust. And so first off, a weird thing that happens is that when you make a mask, and we'll just delete this mask and draw my rectangle again. So when we draw my rectangle, it draws like this. Let me draw a rectangle here. And you can actually hold down shift and it will make a perfect square. So if you hold down shift while you're dragging, instead of making a rectangle like this or like this, you can hold down shift and it makes a perfect square. But here we can make a rectangle. We make a rectangle, it has what's called a mask mode, and masks also have modes. Now, in a previous lesson, we talked about blending modes, but for here, we're going to talk about mask modes. Now, here's the thing that I don't really love about the design of this. I guess it's just my personal preference. We had blending modes last time, and now we have mask modes. And in talking about mask modes, they did a thing where they put the mask modes in the same place as the blending modes. So we had blending modes here, like normal and add and screen and lighten and multiply and all these other overlay modes, etc. We had all these blending modes that blended two images together, hard mix, whatever it was, and that was great, and we could do those things. Today we're not talking about blending modes, we're talking about mask modes. So beneath the blending mode is also the mask mode, and you'll see something that says add. But in this case, add doesn't refer to how it blends the pixels of the lighter pixels and the darker pixels and whatnot. It just refers to how it puts this mask on here and how it puts these two layers together. So when I draw a rectangle, it draws what's inside of the rectangle to be kept. So the part that's being kept is what's inside of the mask. And so here, this mask mode of add is keep what's inside the rectangle. And the opposite of add would obviously be subtract. In this case, subtract is the opposite of add, which is different. And so here, you have add, you have subtract, you have these other modes called intersect, lighten, darken, and difference. And so intersect, for example, would be is if I had multiple masks, I could have two masks here, and I could have them both be add. And so it would add what's inside both the masks. And then if I switch them, click on one, shift click on the other one, and switch them both to intersect, it would be only where the two masks would intersect. And then if I had, I don't know, 3 masks or, 4 masks here, it would only be where these masks intersect. If they were all set to intersect, it would be only where all of these masks intersect, which would be right here. And then if I switch these to the opposite of intersect, which would be difference, they would all be where these masks don't intersect. And so that's a weird look at the USA map there. It's a weird pattern there. I don't know, interesting there. But that's just some things we can do with masks. We can go into these other mask modes. There's even a mask mode called none, which says, hey, don't do anything with the masks. Set all the masks so they don't even bother. They're just there. We can use them for other things later on, like effects and whatnot. But for here, we're going to play with masks today. So I'm going to delete these. We'll start over fresh. And I'm just going to take my rectangle tool and make a simple mask there like so. And I have a mask. Now the mask obviously has properties, just like the transform tools were properties. The mask also has properties. They have mask path and mask feather and mask opacity and mask expansion. Well, I'm going to work from the bottom up and take a look at these. Mask expansion just says that we are going to expand this mask bigger and make it wider than the actual mask is, or make it smaller and contract the mask down. Now, when we make it wider, one of the things that will happen is it will actually round off the edges. It was always confusing to me. Why is it rounding off the edges? And the idea being is that when we take it from 0 to 1, it's basically expanding 1 pixel left, 1 pixel right, 1 pixel up, and 1 pixel away, and it expands these pixels in all these directions. So we go from 0 to 1. It is a 1 pixel expansion into all these directions. Oops, excuse me. And so here, just expanding this up like so. And so when we go to 2, it just kind of expands pixels in all directions, which ends up equaling a rounded off edge. And so we have this rounded shape here from expanding this, and that's what happens. If we go the reverse, that doesn't really do it the same way, but it will make the mask smaller. So we can kind of, what's sometimes referred to as what's called choking the mask or choking the mat. And so we can kind of cut in a little bit. Next, you have this control for mask opacity, and that will make the mask more transparent or more visible. You have this mask opacity. Now, you may ask yourself, but Chad, if your name's Chad, you may ask yourself, why do I have this opacity here that can adjust the opacity here, but I also have a mask opacity? Why do I have both? What sense does that make? Why? If I can do this, why would I need to do this? Well, for example, you could have multiple masks. You could have a secondary mask that has a different opacity than the other masks. Now you have this mask and you have this mask, and then so mask 2 has its own opacity that reduces this mask, and mask 3 has its own opacity, which reduces this mask. And now you have each of these masks with their own different levels of opacity that you could adjust. So for example, like you could do something like this. You could say, let's get rid of this USA map. We'll do like a children's quiz show, television show. You've probably seen something like this before. We'll take this giraffe. This would be great. We'll make this a little bit bigger here. We'll put it on the screen here like this. And we'll just take this. We'll make a mask like this around the giraffe. This is mask number 1, which would be the lower part of the body. And then mask number 2 will be like the middle part of the body. And then mask number 3 will be just the head of the giraffe. And then mask 4 would be the whole giraffe. So we'd have the whole giraffe here, like so. And we could do like a game here. We could say mask 1 will lower the opacity on mask 1, will lower the opacity on mask 2, will lower the mask opacity on mask 3, and then we'll go down here and lower the opacity on mask 4, which is actually the whole giraffe. I mean, that's pretty much the entire giraffe, so it's invisible now. And then the first part of this would be like, we could raise up, we could keyframe the mask opacity, hit the stopwatch, creates a keyframe for the mask opacity. We could say, yeah, let's just raise this up. Oh, that looks interesting. I wonder what that is. That's a picture of something. I don't know what that is. Go like another second later and say, oh, let's go the opacity for the second one here. Have the second layer opacity and raise that up. And then, oh, wait, this looks familiar. I think I know what this is. And some kid next to you is yelling, oh my God, it's a giraffe. I know that. It's a giraffe. I would know it anywhere. And then you see the head and you're like, oh, this is definitely giraffe. I know what a giraffe looks like. And then you have this, kind of animation of each of these different parts of this giraffe. Let me just do it this way. And so here we have the pixels here of first part, second part. And it's like, hey, can you name this animal? Wait, I think it's a long-necked deer. Wait, hold on. And then all of a sudden it reveals the last mask. And we see the last mask says, opacity. We bring that up and we see, oh yeah, totally giraffe. Yeah, I knew it. And so that'd be like the game. You've seen this, kids shows before where they have these little quizzes, Sesame Street or whatever it may be. All this good stuff. Anyway, so that's something you can do. You get multiple masks there. We're going to go back here. Let's stick with the giraffe. I think the giraffe would be fun. And so we're going to go back to the rectangle tool. We'll make a mask around the giraffe's head. And then we can say, okay, so now we have mask expansion, right? We can expand this mask out. We have mask opacity, which means we can make it brighter or darker. And then lastly, we have mask feather, which allows us to soften the edges around the mask. So I can crank up the feather and get soft edges around the mask. And you can see that when you click away from it. See those soft edges around the mask. Let's zoom in a little bit. We'll get you're zoomed in. Now, I don't need to go up to 37 or something like that. I guess I'm going for some kind of crazy effect. I can have kind of a halo effect around there. But you know, just sometimes every now and then I like a little bit of 3-pixel feather, something very mild. A lot of times, especially if I'm compositing something and putting something inside of something else, I do like a little bit of feather, you know, 3 or 2 or something, just a tiny little bit, because this, you know, this hard edge ends up looking like this is like I don't know, it looks like it's like a sticker that's on top of this thing. But if I really want this to look like it's a, you know, superimposed in here, just a little bit of feather, you know, just barely there, just to look at this and say, oh, this looks like it's part of the other layer, and it really fits in there. The shortcut, if you want to know, is if you are on the layer, you can hit the F key, and that will bring up mask feather. So mask feather is something I use often, and I like that there's a shortcut, the F key, to bring me up some mask feathering, which I think is great. Cool, good stuff. All right, so let's look at that. We look at the mask and we look at the mask feathering, and we can have those there like so. Now, there's some other tools here. If you go to the rectangle tool and you pull down, you will see that there's also the rounded rectangle, and we can open up the rounded rectangle and have a rounded rectangle, which has a rectangle with rounded edges. Now, here's a trick. If you're making this rounded rectangle and you're drawing this, you'll see that it has a certain size rounded edges here. While you're clicked on it, now notice my mouse is still clicked on it. I'm still clicking here on the rounded rectangle. I haven't touched anything, but I'm still clicked and moving. If I hit the down arrow, I can make the rectangle roundness smaller. So hold in the round arrow, you see it gets smaller rounded rectangles. Now it looks like, I don't know, like the giraffes on Instagram or something. I can hold down the up arrow and go bigger rounded edges and have larger rounded edges like so. So smaller, bigger, kind of there. I can do that with the up and down arrows and make the rounded edges. That only happens while I'm dragging. Once I let go, I can't. Up arrow is going to raise this mask up or down. It doesn't really do anything for me the way that I want it to do. So that's a control with the rounded rectangle. Next to the rounded rectangle, you have beneath that, you have the ellipse, which makes a circle or makes some kind of an oval, I guess. You can make any kind of thing. If you want to make a perfect circle, you could hold down shift while you do this, and you can make a perfect circle. Now, if you want to do something where you wanted to have, this is a trick. If you want to have this here be a giraffe, if you want, notice when you open the circle, it opens up kind of to the direction you drag. So it opens up kind of this way, which is cool. But if you want this to open up from the center, there's a trick where if you hold down, if you click, and then as soon as you click, you hold down Command, it will open up from the middle. So it will open up evenly from the middle. And then if you held on Shift, you could hold on Shift and make a perfect circle. So two things you have going on. You have the ability to make a perfect circle by holding down Shift, just like we could do with the rectangle, make a perfect circle. But then also, you can also use Command to say, no, I want to grab right from the nose here. Instead of dragging this way to get around the nose, you could drag the nose by clicking and then holding down Command and then opening up from the center. Shift click would do there. And then if you want the third modifier, the Option key or the Alt key on a PC, is it will drag the line but not show it. Like it won't show you what it's doing. When the option is not selected, it actually shows you what's happening. But if that was problematic for you or you didn't want to see that, you could just have it be like here. And now it's opening with a nose in the center because I'm holding down Command, Option, Shift, and I can see what this is doing. I have to let go of the mouse first, boom, and then let go, and then it's there. And so the update happens that way. And so that is the ellipse tool, but that would work with all tools. So if you were using a rectangle and you wanted the rectangle to open up from the center, you could obviously, instead of dragging it this way, you could say click, Command, and then it would open up the rectangle from the center. Shift click would make a perfect rectangle, and then Option will hide what it's doing. It's a lot of shortcuts, a lot of modifier keys. Anyway, we'll keep moving. Next to the rectangle would be the Polygon tool, and the Polygon tool will make a polygon shape. Mine is making a hexagon right now. I think the default is a pentagon that makes pentagon, but again, as you're dragging this and as you're dragging this shape to make this polygon shape, you can hit the up arrow to make more or less sides. So up arrow to make more sides, down arrow to make less sides, down to a triangle. You have the triangle ability, and then you can make more sides and make more sides as you need to. And so you have that like so. Great. And so that's there. Ultimately, you could probably crank this up to 360 sides, and then that would just make a circle. But we'll make a pentagon for now, which is a pentagon shape, and there with pentagon shape. We'll undo that. Keep hitting Command Z to undo. And then lastly, what world would be complete? I mean, really, let's be honest. You know what you wanted. You wanted a star tool. It makes a star. It's like the giraffes on the cover of Teen Beat magazine now. Man, looks good. And I know you're going to ask a question. You're going to ask a question, but so go ahead. You can ask. You can say it. Chad, can I make more points on the star by hitting the up arrow? Yeah, you can. Oh, fancy. And so this only works while dragging, which really raises the question, 4-point star, this is a triangle. Is a triangle a star? Are triangles stars? What is the definition of a star that makes it different than a triangle? Really philosophical question there. I mean, it has corners, it has points, it has straight lines. Triangle's basically like the most primitive star you can get. I mean, I guess, yeah, you can't go any smaller. Make all kinds of stars, multiple sides, etc. They're like so. Interesting. There's also a trick where while you're dragging, if you hit the left and right arrows, you can kind of wind in your stars to make kind of weird rounded top. I'm hitting the left and right arrows now to change the edging to the star, I guess, or the corner points, make them rounder. So there's some weird things you can do that's there. And so you have those shapes. You have the rectangle, the rounded rectangle, the ellipse, the polygon, and the star tool, all with the Q key. You can just cycle through them by hitting Q repeatedly and go through all the different modes there like so. But then you want to go a step further. Let's go back to USA map because I really want to play with USA map. Then you want to go a step further and you can say, click USA map, make this full screen size. You have the pen tool, which looks like a little robot hand. I know, it doesn't look like a little robot hand. Yeah, the pen tool, which is the G key. And the G key allows you to take the pen tool and make your own points. So you could draw points here around Wyoming by clicking here and here and here and here and go back to the first point. When you go back to the first point, it turns your little robot hand, puts a little 0 next to it. It's really small, you can barely see it, but it puts a little 0 there and says, boom, now we just cut out Wyoming there. So you can make little points and draw whatever shape you wanted to. So if you wanted to grab in, I don't know, New Mexico here, you could grab in, click at the corner. You could zoom in if you needed to. I'm just kind of going arbitrary. We'll click to here, go a little bit down to here, click here, we'll zoom in a little bit, get really focused on New Mexico here, and then click there, and then get back to the first point, and then we cut out New Mexico, and we have New Mexico cut out as its own separate layer, kind of a simple cropping tool. So we can use the pen tool to do that. I will hit M for mask. M is the shortcut for mask, and it said delete this mask. We'll just click on it. It usually deletes the last point and then deletes the whole thing. If you hit delete twice, we'll just move this back in here, and we'll grab in different points and different sides. And we can grab Nevada here. Again, click, yes, click, and we could cut out Nevada like there, etc. And we can do that. We can make points along the path. Now, if we want to go a step further, what we could do is we could say, I'm just going to drag arbitrary points, click, and drag, and when we click and drag, we make curved points. So we have curved edges points. Click, curved edges, click, curved edges, click and drag. So I'm clicking and dragging while I drag, and then I make this kind of shape, which is like a weird, I don't know, maybe like a weird fish bird or something. I don't know, something. But then we can make those shapes and have fun with those. So again, if I click, I make straight points, right? I click and I make straight points. But if I click and drag, I make curved, good old Bezier handles. God bless Pierre Bezier, making our Bezier handles, moving us around like there and making these shapes like so. It's amazing. Keep making the same weird shape. But I'm just showing you can do that. Now, let's talk about this as an idea. As an idea, we could say, hey, we want to cut out, I don't know, Texas here. We could click here. We could click maybe here, and here, and then here, and then here, and then come to here, all with straight lines, all with these what are called linear vertex points. These little, remember position controls? If you watch any of the previous lessons, you had the position path, the motion path, you could move the motion path there. But now we can say, for this, to some degree, we could click and pull curves. And then click here and pull curves, sort of. And click here and pull curves and kind of curve around these shapes. So when you get this, you get some of these curvy shapes. And that might be a better way to click and put a drawing around Texas. Because really what you wouldn't want to do is you wouldn't want to do like 6,000 points, right, to make every last little thing. So you could get a somewhat design of Texas. We could go into more detail if I'd had more detail control and I zoomed in a lot and I got all these, I don't know, nooks and crannies there of the Rio Grande or whatever it may be. So I could do that and I could have those controls there. So let's talk about this as an idea. Now, what I could have done is I could have done this. I could have done linear points here. I could have made a linear point and a linear point and a linear point and just made a linear point here and one to here and one to here and one to there and one to there and one to there. And these are just straight individual click points right? I'm not doing anything great. I'm just making straight clicks, and I could have went from to there and to there. I went to the first point and closed it off and made Texas. And that's Texas with straight edges, which is not what I want to do. But remember, I can go to these vertex points. These are just like position vertex points, right? Position vertex points, if you remember, I can hold down Command and Option and switch them to Bezier. If I'm in the pen tool, if I'm still in the pen tool, I can switch them to Bezier just by holding down the Option key, and that will give me my Convert Vertex button, or my Convert Vertex tool. And my Convert Vertex tool looks like that less than symbol, or that hollowed out cursor. And I can switch this to a Bezier. And now I have the Bezier controls there. I wouldn't want Bezier controls there, but maybe here, I may want to go, and we'll just switch this back to none mode just for a second, just so you can see. I may want to go Option click and go to here, and then just curve this in to get this curvature. And I may want to go to here and go to Option click in there. But here's the truth. Honestly, I tend to, once I make my mask. So for example, let's make the letter C. I'm gonna put C for Chad here. We're gonna get rid of this mask. Excuse me, not change the color of the mask. We'll just get rid of the mask here, and we'll just change this to the letter C. So I could do this way. I could click, and click and drag and draw the letter C. And I could do it like there, right? And I could click over here and draw this part of the C, and then click back here, and then boom, I have the letter C. It's a weird, awkward C. But what I could do instead, we'll just undo that a whole bunch. We'll just delete that mask. Delete you, mask. Thank you. And I could draw here. I can do this. I can do this with linear points. I could click here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and there, and there, and that draws a letter C sort of, but that looks like a very linear C. So what I tend to do is I tend to go, as soon as I finish my mask, what I tend to do is I go away from, I just avoid my pen tool. And the reason I avoid my pen tool is because your pen tool does some other things which may be great, like adding additional points along the path if you wanted to, but I don't want to. Or worst case scenario, I start to draw over here and I actually click somewhere over here and I make a new mask and I'm like, why is this mask number 2 here? I don't want this new mask. So once I'm done with that, and once I have the mask kind of the way that I want, and it's here, I tend to find that I switch back to the selection tool. And the reason I do that is because I can go to selection tool and click on this point and say, yeah, let's Command Option click this, boom, and now I have a curve shape. Command Option click this. So Command Option, both fingers down, or Control Alt if you're on a PC. And now we can really make this curve. So I can modify this. I can click on this, I can pull the Bezier different, make it bigger on this end, make it bigger on this end. And if you've played with Bezier handle before, it works just like the Bezier handles in Photoshop, in Illustrator, in Premiere, in all these other programs. And you can make a really nice C that way. And so you have that control there that you can actually draw these shapes really nicely and do some really nice work in there. And so once I'm done with the mask, if I want to say, hey, I'm going to go, instead of C, I'm going to use the M key and say, let's say, well, or not the M key, we'll hit the M for mask, and I'm going to click boom, 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 and I make a there, and I made this letter M. Great, it looks like a very superhero M. I kind of, or maybe an evil villain M or something. I don't know, something. And then we'll say this. I'm going to go back to the selection tool, V key, and now I'm going to go to this mask and say, yeah, let's start to tweak this mask a little bit. Let's go here and let's kind of play with these points here. They're a little hard to see, but we're going to click here. I can even change the color so they're a little bit easier to see. We'll go to white here just so you can see the points, edges. There they are. So a little hard to see. And I'm going to say here, now I want to make this more rounded, more friendlier, I guess. I don't know if rounded is more friendly, but we're going to assume there and make a much more kind of friendly M. A little snazzier. There we go. A little more. And again, I'm just hitting Command Option. I'm kind of curving this to make whatever kind of M I want to. And I'll take all these points and make this more of an easygoing M. And that looks like a weird looking M. Man, it does look like a weird looking M. But I can tweak, and I can do all the tweaking with my selection tool to make whatever kind of M that I want to make after the fact and change all these vertex points there. So again, Command Option click will switch this back to linear, which makes a straight point, or Command Option click will switch this back to Bezier, which allows for some Bezier controls there. Same thing with any of these points here, like so. So let's get a little playful. Let's get a little playful as an idea. Let's say, for example, and we'll do this as an idea. I'm gonna get rid of USA map here, and we'll open up this, we'll grab this heart. I have this picture of this heart, and I have this heart. Now, could I have cut this heart out in Photoshop? Yeah, I know how to do that. I'm smart, I can do that. But I wanna work inside of After Effects because this is an After Effects course, and so I'm gonna work inside of After Effects. So I'm gonna take my pen tool, G key, and I'm gonna make a point here, and make a point here, and make a point here, and make another point basically here. And so I connect these points, go to the first point, and I make a diamond shape. And if you remember from before, we can take a diamond shape with the M key. We can take a diamond shape and we can make it into a mask. So I'm gonna switch this from mask 1 from add mode and switch this to none. And so now in none mode, I can go to these points and I wanna turn this shape into a heart shape. I wanna make this a heart shape here. So I'm gonna hit Command Option here. I'm gonna drag this like there. Command Option this guy. I'll Command Option this guy as well, and I'll Command Option this guy. Control Alt, grab those there. Now the problem being is that when I click on this point, and again now I've made this thing, so I don't want to accidentally make another mask. I don't want to do that. I got to switch back to the selection tool. It's just a safer way to work for me. I'm going to pull this up like this. When I pull this up, it pulls this one down, and this is called Asymmetrical Handles. These are called Asymmetrical Bezier Handles. It's not great. What I want to do is I want to pull this up a little bit like this, and then pull this edge up like this and have this be a really nice curve. I can zoom in a little closer, but then again, this one has been pulled down, which means I'm never gonna pull one up and pull the other one down. Now the trick being, if you haven't learned this yet, is to grab this one, click on it, then hold down the Alt key, hold the Option key, and this will break the handle. So now they're moving independently. And now they're fully independently. The only trick being is I'll be able to let go of the mouse first. So I'm gonna let go of the mouse, basically like this. I'll pull this edge up and I have a nice curve like this. Now, the same thing here. If I click this, I may want to say, yeah, let's pull this in to pull this and curve around this way. Make this a little bit bigger on this edge here without tweaking this and pull this in like this and have this here. But this is pulling this one out. And so when I pull this one out, it causes a problem. I need to click on this, hold on Alt. So it's click first, Alt, pull in, let go of mouse first. There. If you do this wrong, it's going to revert back. So if I do this here and I Option click, it's going to go back to, oh, that's not what I wanted. I want to keep these completely independent. And once they're independent, like once you Option click and bring them in, they are henceforth independent, which means now I don't have to touch Option ever again. I've already broken the connection, broken the asymmetrical handles between them, and now the handles are completely broken and there. Now that I have this heart shape cutout that I want, I'm gonna switch this to add mode, have this be add, and then I'm gonna go here and hit the feather key, F for feather, maybe like a 3-pixel feather. Cool, just a little bit there, and now I have a heart over New York City. Oh, amazing. We could play this, watch this. Oh, look how magical. Amazing. Fantastic. Wonderful stuff. Looks great. Okay, let's play a little bit further. Let's go a little bit more, and we'll kind of play an idea here. All right, so we're gonna do a little bit of compositing trick here. I'm gonna turn off the heart for a second. I'm gonna turn off the heart. You're not gonna see the heart. It's there. I just turn the eyepiece off the heart. We're gonna go to this next thing, which is this night. And so in the night here, we have the night. I'm gonna go to the pen tool and I'm gonna talk about some ideas here. First idea I wanna talk about is when I do the night, I'm gonna cut the night out of the chessboard here. This is the horse, the night piece. I'm gonna click here. I could do it this way. I could click here, 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 click here. I can do all of that. I can do all of that. But this is a perfect curve. Let the curves do their job. It's going to be beneficial to you later on. And it actually makes smoother edges if you really take this and say, hey, I'm going to pull here. I'm going to pull this curve out like this and just pull that out there. Excellent. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to here. I'm going to pull this edge here like so and pull this to there. Now, a thing that sometimes happens is when I pull certain edges, if the edges doesn't make what I want it to make, like say for example here, I'll just undo. If I try to pull from here to here, one of the things I can do, I can pull a perfect curve this way. But when I pull a perfect curve this way, what it ends up doing is I end up pulling a lot to make this curve. So now look at the size of the handle. It's super huge. That if I want to come around this corner, it's going to make a super huge loop out. And that's not the end of the world because I can just pull this one back. Because what we're really referring to is how far this handle pulls. It's this edge of the handle pulls, how far this edge of the handle pulls to make the curve. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo a bunch, going to come back, and I do like this middle point here. Do I need it? No, but it's sometimes a little bit safer. I want to reduce the number of points I use, but I'm going to let this one go and pull it just a little bit here, pull around the curve to here, and kind of have this curve there. I can go back and tweak this one a little bit. Move this one in. This may be a case I want to zoom in a little bit closer and see how my curve looks. Do I want to pull this one a little bit further? Do I get the same kind of curve when I come to here, when I pick from here, etc.? And do I have that nice curve there? I'll come straight across to here. And again, this one doesn't, if you look really super close, this one actually cuts in weirdly because I pulled this way, and so now I'm getting this weird cut in. Again, what I may want to do is click on this Option key and pull this back so it comes back like there. I can't even take this point and pull this out here. Maybe pull this back a little bit and get a nicer shape there. I'll go to here, we'll move this one back over here. And again, this is already broken, so it's there, it's nice, cool. And I can start to curve in a little bit like so. Now, a thing to be careful of, when I do this, when I start to draw these shapes, I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. When I start to draw these shapes, a thing that I do, and I probably shouldn't do, what I probably should do is I probably should continue my shape on. I should probably just go here and go through the whole thing and say, draw a point here, and 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 draw a point there. And I should say, hey, this is great. Everything's great. Everything's happy. Everything's wonderful. It's perfect. Everything's doing everything right. And when I'm done, I'm going to go back and tweak and clean this up. But I won't do that. Why? Because I'm a little bit crazy, I guess. Because what happens is I look at this point, I go, this bothers me. And then I go, okay, let me go back to here and let me tweak this a little bit. So let's go and bring this to here. Let's bring this to here and have this curve out nicer. We'll pull this, we'll option click this in, and I'll curve this here. I'll hit this one more in this point, and this one should be fixed up a little bit and here, and maybe this one should be more Bezier. So we'll go Command, we'll go to Option click, and we'll make this Bezier, and then I have to pull this one kind of like this into here, and then click this one and Option click it in here, and I start to tweak. I start to tweak before I'm done, and I shouldn't do that. I should just finish it and then go back to it and tweak it, but I can't. I just can't see it. It bothers me to look at it, and so I'm finding myself tweaking while I'm doing this, and it's not what I should do. But here's the thing. Right now, and I'm going to change the mask here. I'm going to hit M for mask and change the color to white so you can really see this. So you have points that you are clicked on, and they are selected and they are highlighted in, they're filled in boxes here. These points that aren't clicked on are hollow. And so you have hollow points and filled in points, and you have both. And so when you click on a point, you fill in, you highlight one, and the other ones are not selected, which is a bit different. And so here, now the problem being is that when you get down to here and you say, okay, I want to continue my mask on. I took this point, I kind of clicked on this and Option clicked and curved this out and etc. And now I want to go and grab this here, and now everything's perfect and everything's good. And I want to move this a little bit here. And now I'm clicked on this point, but I want to continue on right here. Well, what's going to happen? Is it going to continue the mask just from where it left off? Is it going to fork the mask into two separate, branches of mask? Is it going to delete these points? Well, actually, it's much worse. What it's going to do is if I click on a previous point and I click down here, it actually starts a brand new mask, and you see a brand new color, and you're like, oh my God, that's definitely not what I meant to do. That's totally wrong. So just be careful of that. If you're making your mask and you see a new color strike up automatically, it's going to be a case where, yeah, this one isn't part of this mask. It's not a continuation, and there's no way to connect two different masks. They're just two different masks. And so you're better off just saying, hey, click on the last one you made, and that's the way to continue on. So if you find yourself going back and tweaking other points here, and then you're like, hey, let me continue my mask on, and all of a sudden it's a different color, undo, make sure you clicked on the last point, and then you continue your mask on. And that's how the mask continuation would occur. And so again, here, we're gonna go to here, we'll cut around here. So just be careful of that as an idea. We'll pull this out, we'll continue on from here. And you get it, and you get a sense of this. You get a sense of cutting out. There are people who are better at this than I am, but you get quicker and more adept at cutting these out and figuring out how many points you need. Again, you want to try to reduce the points you need and get better curves. Let the curves do their job and cut around smoother. Let me grab this here and say, let's grab this there, like so. We can Option click up to here. Boom. I might take this one and move this one like so and pull it out a little bit more. But then I do want to make sure I click on the last point before continuing on. I'm almost done. Almost the home stretch. Now, could I have done this in Photoshop? Again, yeah, I probably could have done this in Photoshop, but man, there is something nice to do this inside of After Effects, to be able to cut this out and to tweak it and to get what you want and kind of work with it inside of After Effects as an idea. This is what the mask tool allows you to do. As a simple idea, this is what the mask tool allows you to do. Okay, I want to talk about another thing that can happen. There will be occasion on which you will find yourself, for whatever reason, clicking on all the points. I find that I do this when I click on the word mask. Look, all the points are highlighted. I'm gonna go back to the selection tool because now I'm gonna tweak my mask. And here, all the points are highlighted, which means if I try to move one, it moves all of them. Guess what? All of them just moved over. Well, that's a problem. Undo. So if I try to grab one, so I can't, how do I grab one without grabbing all of them? Well, it's really not that hard. It seemed like when I first did this, it seemed really hard to like, why am I grabbing all of them? Man, what do I do? So all I have to do is, right now they're little squares. Well, all I had to do was click over here somewhere, click off of the night, click off the layer that you want. Just click off the layer. And now you see they're not squares, they're circles. And this is kind of just suggests that they're just kind of there, but you're not really working with them. Then you click on one and it's like, boom, it's good. So if for some reason you click on like Command A, you could highlight them all. If you want to move all of them, you could hit Command A and highlight all of them, or Control A. But now I have all of them. I'm like, man, oh man, I don't mean to do that. Click over here, click back on the one, and now you're good. You're back to normal, and now you're just adjusting one. And again, I probably want to do this with Selection Tool. Once my mask is done, hit the V key, switch over to Selection Tool. That way you're not making new masks and you're not having problems. You don't need to do that. And so that works like a charm, and that's there. And so that's an idea. One of the things I also recommend, if you really want to make this look nice and you really want to test this out, if you're making your mask, say for example, over black, if you do this over black and you make your mask and you say, hey, let me look at my mask and look how my mask looks. And I click there and it goes, it looks pretty good. Not a bad job. It's a pretty good mask. It looks cut out. The night is cut out really well. He looks pretty good. It's there. Here's the truth. The color black is really forgiving. The black background inside of After Effects is super, super forgiving, and it lets you get away with a lot. And so I don't always love that. If I really want to, test my mask and see how my mask looks, what I sometimes will do is I'll hit Command Y or Layer, New, Solid, and I'll find a really aggressive color, something really vibrant, lime green or something really turquoise, man. I don't know, something. Green solid. Take this heavy duty green solid. I'll take this heavy duty green solid. We'll make it comp size. Make it as big as the comp, 1920 by 1080. Make it comp size and say okay. And I'll just put it behind the night. And now you can see if your mask looks great or not. You can really see edges that don't look good, and it'll really show you off edges. So for example, like here, it's not a bad mask, but if you had this mask here and you said like this point was like open like this much, you might look at this and be like, it looks all right, it looks pretty good. Man, but you see this over green, and you go, oh man, there's a huge issue here. This could be nicer. This could be nicer. So if you really want to kind of obsess over your mask and how your mask looks, look at it over a really bad color. Not a bad color, just a color that really would show you your errors, show you the quality of your work. So if there's anything that you don't like, sometimes I'd look at it over there and say, oh, this could come in a little bit, maybe be a little tighter, etc. And again, you may want to go in here and you may want to feather your mask. So feel free to put a 3-pixel feather in there and just soften these edges. You can always see when someone does like a really bad mask. I often see that like, oh, you did a really bad job doing your mask. You'll see that they will feather it a lot. Feathering it, that'll solve your problem if you did a really bad mask. It won't really, but it's an idea of like, oh, you feathered this a lot. And so when you feather this a lot, it's because you did a bad mask. And sometimes even still, what you may want to do is you may want to say, hey, you know what? I have a little bit of edging here. I can see a little bit of the shadow of this. I could go into this mask and maybe just contract this mask or choke this mask just in a couple pixels, just, down a couple pixels just to cut it in. Nothing huge, just a little bit there. And it's just that minor difference of going from, 0, like that to that, just to, that little bit of difference. This to this, just kind of, choking a little bit. Things you can do just to kind of make your mask look a little bit nicer, a little bit cleaner. I'm pretty good about that mask, and I feel like we did a decent job with this mask. So, okay, so let's do one more. As an idea, I'll turn off the green solid. We don't need it right now. And let's look at this Porsche here. We're going to picture this Porsche here. Here's this Porsche. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. We're gonna hit S for scale. We'll scale this Porsche up and we'll look at the Porsche like so. And we're gonna take the pen tool and we're gonna cut this Porsche. I'll just start someplace here. This is a relatively straight line. This is a relatively straight line. And we'll cut around here and from there and have this be like there. And we'll cut into that point. I don't know, I'm just making points along the path. I can make more points or less points if I need to. You know, it depends on how fast I'm working. Depends on what I need, you know. If this is a quick, super quick job just for a friend of yours that I don't really care about, you know, maybe my mask will be a little bit more sloppy. Now, the question I always have is, I'm going to put this here. I'm going to leave in the shadow of the underneath the car. I have a feeling this shadow is kind of arbitrary enough that I don't need to cut this as super tight. I'll cut this in like this. I'll cut to here. But I'm going to leave this little bit of shadow from the car. And I could even go here and bring this point down and have a little bit more shadow in the background of the car, kind of there. Again, I want to click on this point though, and continue this on and include a little bit of shadow like so. And we'll come to here, you know, maybe get the headlight in here, cut this in and cut this out there. So now I have the car cut out like there. Again, I'm gonna hit the F key, feather this a little bit. I'll open this up and go to the mask expansion, maybe expand this in a little bit, just 2 pixels there and cut this in like so. And this is okay. I want to look how this looks. So I'm gonna put this over green and see how this looks. Hey, it looks like it looks like a pretty decent car. I may take this last point here, this point over here, and just kind of extend this. Oops, see, I grabbed all of them. Not what I want to do. Undo. I want to go back to the selection tool because I don't want to start making a new mask. Click away, click back on. That's sometimes what you have to do. You have to do that little bit of click there. And I like the little bit of shadow. There's a little bit of shadows there. I don't want that shadow like that. Let's go back to the Porsche and we'll grab this. And now maybe I'll go to the G key and make another pen and then just say, make a point like this. Just so we have the shadow in here. Yeah, like that. Cool. And just see how it looks over there. So cool. We have that with a little bit of shadow. We go to this side here and say, let's grab this open a little bit more. A little bit more shadow. This could come in a little bit because again, Command Option click, curve this in a little bit. Again, could I tweak this for days? Yeah, I could probably tweak this for days to get what I want, but I think this is good enough. Let's see how this looks. Let's see how this carves in. Let's see if we get a decent job out of this thing. Now I have this Porsche here. And so now I'm gonna take this Porsche. And so as the trick here, we're gonna turn off the green solid. We don't need the green solid anymore. I'll turn the night back on and we'll put the heart back on here. And so we have the night, the heart, and the Porsche, all 3. Here we go. We have all 3 of these like there. And now I'm going to start a composite. So I'm going to take the Porsche, I'll put the Porsche underneath the night. And so now this Porsche, and I'll put the heart on top, just the heart all the way on top. And I'll just take the night off for a second, and I'm going to put the heart on the door. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to scale this down, super duper small. And I'll just grab this and move this. I'm in the pen tool, so that's gonna make another mask, which is not what I wanna do. So I'm gonna switch to the selection tool and take this and put the heart on the door. It's kind of like a heartmobile. There we go. Now I have a little heartmobile there. You know, I can feather this a little bit more, maybe have this a little bit softer, you know, maybe 5 pixels or something, a little bit softer. But I could also try to play, hey, you know, this doesn't really work really well. So let's kind of experiment with blending modes here. We can say, we'll hold on Shift and we'll just go to blending modes, normal, dissolve, dance and dissolve, and we'll go through different blending modes and see if we can find a blending mode that looks really like the hearts there on the door. You know, maybe hard light, maybe vivid light, I don't know, something. Pin light, let's try pin light. Yeah, it looks kind of there. We could also lower the opacity, hit T for opacity, have this be kind of just heart on the door there. It looks, you know, it looks like it fits a little bit better. It looks less like I guess it still looks like a sticker, but it looks a little bit more kind of like it's faded in there. We can do some color correction later on, but for now we're just gonna take this at 75% and have this be kind of just on the door like so. So now we have a little heartmobile there. If you wanted to, we could Command D and duplicate this, make more hearts. We could say, take this and have a second heart, or a Command D and duplicate and have a third heart, have 3 hearts. Oh man, super heartmobile. It's fascinating now. I don't know. This is the kind of Porsche you want to drive. You know, go for it. You could have a little heartmobile. So now what we want to do is we want to cut out the window, and we want to get rid of the window, because what we want to do is we want to take the night and put the night on the Porsche. Now the night is obviously way too big to drive the Porsche, so we're going to scale him down. Sorry, we scale for everything. We're going to take the night and scale you down, and say let's scale you down smaller. So he fits into the Porsche, but now he's facing the wrong way. He's now facing the wrong direction here. And we could say, okay, let's zoom in, and let's say we're just going to take him, we're going to scale him down vertically so he gets super small, and we'll invert him. We'll have him facing the opposite direction. So there he is, facing the opposite direction. Whoops, looks good like there. We'll have him basically that shape and have him in here. But now we want to put him inside of the car, so we want to have him there inside of the car. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Porsche, and we'll just solo the Porsche. We're just going to Porsche by itself. We'll just look at Porsche. So now we want to cut out a window here. So now what we're going to do is take my pen tool and maybe draw from here to here and here to there and cut in like this and cut out a window. Now that's going to be add mode. I'm going to hit Command Option and then, sorry, selection tool. We're going to click this point and go boom and curve this out a little bit so it curves a little bit like this. Great, and now we have this there. But this Porsche, this mask here is in add mode, so both these are in add mode. So we want to add this mask, but we want to simultaneously subtract this mask. So now we cut out a window, and now we have a hollow window in there, which means we can put the Porsche over the knight, and now it's like the knight is inside of the Porsche. So here, knight with the Porsche inside. We can even take the knight, hit the W key for rotation, rotate and rotate it back so he's reclining a little bit. Selection tool, move him there into the car. Now he's driving the car. We'll turn off these solos there. We have them there. And now it's like, cool. You know, I don't know. This horse driving a car. Again, I'll take the mask. Number 2, we'll feather this a little bit, just a little bit, like a 2-3 pixel feather, just a little soft edges there. Excellent. We could probably remove the back window as well. So we go to Porsche here, take the back window, kind of take that out. Again, the default is going to be add mode. So M for mask, we're going to go to subtract and subtract this window out. Now we have these 2 windows out because we don't want any of this in here. And then we have this like so, and we have this there. So now we can take this Porsche, we take this street corner here. We'll take the street corner. This is the street corner here. We'll put this Porsche on the street corner. There it is, like so. And, you know, to some degree, it looks like this Porsche is there. We could probably make this, I'm going to click on the knight, the Porsche, the hearts, and all these, and scale these all down a little bit smaller. Oops, that's not going to work the way I want it to work because it's going to do them each on their own. So we can do it one at a time. We can go here and say knight. We'll scale we'll scale the Porsche down first. We'll hit scale for Porsche. We'll scale the Porsche down so it's a little bit smaller. We'll take this heart. Look at these 3 hearts. We'll make them all like 25, just little hearts, 25, 25, and 25. And again, reposition them. Selection tool, V key, selection tool, put them here, and here, and here on the thing, and then man, I don't know. How do we feel? There he is, he's gonna get hit by another car, but, and the shadow doesn't look bad. I mean, the shadow looks like it fits, right? I mean, it's not perfect, but looks sort of like it fits. I think the feathering on the Porsche itself. Let's go to mask. Let's go to F for feather. Let's reduce this to 1. Just a little bit of feathering. Obviously, the color doesn't work. Obviously, the thing doesn't work. But this is the idea of compositing. This is the idea of superimposing something on top of something else, and it's there. It looks like this guy right here who's walking forward is gonna drive this Porsche, or he's gonna get in. You know, he's gonna ride shotgun. You know, this is right here. You know what it is? Knight Rider. Because he's a knight and he's riding in a car. He's Knight Rider. Knight Rider. You know, you get it. Anyway, all right, I'll stop. And so you have this control here. And so this is the way that we can do masks, and we can cut things out into various shapes and put things into random places and put things into random scenes and have things be in certain locations based on these mask tools. I want to show you one additional thing just while we're playing, just an idea. There will be a circumstance, and I'll just solo the Porsche here. So we just have the Porsche here soloed. Cool. Fix yourself. Cool. Let's take this out of solo. Great. So there will be a circumstance here where I'm just going to actually make a new comp, just to show this to you. Command N, new comp, and we'll say here, new comp, and I'm just going to copy this Porsche over. Command C, copy. Command B, paste, and we'll have this Porsche. Oh, man. Cool. Let's do final quality. There will be a circumstance here when doing this. You'll find yourself on occasion where you double click. If you're on the mask and you're on a point, or even if you're on the line, you can be on the line and move the line itself. That'll drag both those points. But if you double click, you'll get this area here called a mask container. This is a mask container here. So we'll do this again here with the whole Porsche. We'll just kind of go here and say double click. It gets a container around the entire mask. Now it does a couple things. The container, first off, highlights all the points, which means you can't drag one point. But it also gives you controls to move the entire mask over, or move the entire mask somewhere away, or to expand the mask, stretch this entire mask out by grabbing the corner points in there. And you can actually even go to the edge here and you can rotate the entire mask. So if you wanted that control, you could go to the edges here and say here, double click, you get this mask container. A lot of times people don't realize that they want to do this and they don't have the need to do this. And they're like, hey, I don't want to move the whole mask. That doesn't make sense to me. But they get the container and they're like, how do I get rid of the container? Guess what? Just double click again, gets rid of the container, and then it's gone. Cool. And so that's there. Okay, so as a final notion, what we'll get into a little bit is the last control in the mask properties, which would be not mask expansion, opacity, or feather, but mask path, and that includes shape. Let's go back here to something else. We'll make a new comp, Command N, new comp, again, HC 108024 by 10 seconds, and we'll go here to New York City Aerial. And so inside here, inside New York City Aerial, I'm going to switch this to final quality, and we'll start here. And inside of here, we're going to play with this mask controls. I'll go back to the rectangle tool and go to a straight rectangle shape here of a mask and have a mask rectangle, and like there. And then we have this path. When we hit the M key, it brings up this control called mask path. And mask path has a value that says shape, and it's really nothing. I mean, there's nothing you can do. You can't drag it. You can click on it, but it doesn't really help you really much. It doesn't really tell you. It tells you what the shape of the mask is, but that doesn't really set you what it is. And so it's not really that, miraculous here. But what it does has, it does have a stopwatch. And so the trick being here is that we can go with the stopwatch. We can turn the stopwatch on right here. And what that would do is it'll put a keyframe here that tells you that at this point, at this moment in time, right here, it was this shape of a rectangle. Well, we could go to say 1 second later, and we could grab points. Now I'm going to go back to the selection tool since I've already made my shape. I'm clicked on all the points. So again, I'll click away, click on this one point here, and I will drag this point down like this, and this will change the shape. So now here I can go and make a shape change, and it will animate that shape change. I'll go to 2 seconds. I'll grab this point and pull this in here. I'll go to 3 seconds. I'll go to 3 seconds, and I'll grab this point in like this. And I'll go to 4 seconds and grab this point over here. And I made this shape point change. And so now it's doing this, which I guess if you wanted that, you could do that. Weird shape there. I mean, things you could do as an idea, just for experimental points. We'll go here and we'll say, get rid of all this. And we could say, let's have this be a mask that highlights the whole thing. So we could say, double click this, click on the New York City Aerial layer and double click, and it puts a mask completely around the entire New York City Aerial layer. And if you wanted to, we could say at 1 second, it's like this. So at 1 second, it's here like this. We're going to go to M for mask path and turn the stopwatch on. And then we're going to go back up to 0 seconds. And here at 0 seconds, we're going to click on this one point here. And I'll hold down Shift and I'll click on this point as well. And then I'll click backwards and I'll drag backwards. A trick, if you hold down the Option key while you're dragging, it'll only drag in one direction. So it kind of maintains you in one direction. Actually, hold on, sorry, Shift key, wrong key. Look at that, I made a mistake. And so now it's like this, and this is kind of your wipe on. This is your wipe on. If you wanted to be smaller, you could say, yeah, let's take this, turn off mask path. We'll go here, and we'll have it be, so we'll do a two-step process. We'll go here and have this mask. At 2 seconds, it's full. At 1 second, we're gonna grab this point and this point and drag them down. Again, hold down Shift key and we'll hold down one position there. And I'm gonna grab this one, Shift click this one, and click drag, and we'll hold only in vertical. And so now it's gonna go from here to here. Boom, open up there. But then we'll go here, grab this point and this point, drag Shift, and then go like this, and now it's gonna go Bum bum. Looks like a, you know, opening to like a New York crime drama show. Boom, ba boom. And we can do animations like that. We can make kind of playful animations that open up like there. You know, or maybe we take this and say, yeah, let's take a new mask here. Sorry, not change the color of this. We'll take a mask, we'll delete this mask, and we'll say, here, let's grab like a mask here that grabs here, and then another mask that grabs here, and then another mask that grabs like this. Oops. That grabs like this and go here. And then we could do like some kind of a multi-wipe on effect of these masks. So we'll go to M for mask path and all of these. Ultimately, it's going to look like, you know, maybe we'll do something where we say at 1 second, it looks like this. So I'll click on all three of these. We'll just turn the mask path on all three of these. Boom. And so now it's animated mask path. But at this point, at 0 seconds, we'll go to this this mask 1. This will be selection tool. Click here, click here. This will be off screen this way. Maybe we'll stagger these. Maybe we'll stagger these. We'll have this be here. We'll move this one to 2 seconds. And then at 1 second, so this is going to come on and go boom. And then this one is going to be at 2 seconds, the yellow one. Click here, here, click here. Click, boom, off screen this way. And so it's here. So it's going to be like boom, boom. And then this last one is going to come on at 3 seconds. And then at 2 seconds, it's going to be off screen. Holding down shift like there. And so it's going to go boom, 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 open up there. And then maybe at 4 seconds, all 4 of these. Let's see what we can do. At 4 seconds, mask 1 will click this way and open up like this, and click this way, and open up like this. And then mask 2 will click this way, and open up like this. And mask this one and this one will open up like this. And then mask 3 doesn't really need to open up, but let's just do it for sake of argument. This one and this one will open up this way. And then this one and this one will open up this way. Now, here's the truth. Honestly, let's be honest. I made a 4th mask. Look at this little 1 point I made here. I made a 4th mask. How did I do that? I was using the pen tool and I accidentally made a 4th mask. Is it a problem? Not really, but it's just something I didn't want to do. So now my animation looks like this. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, I want to actually, sorry. I want to take these points here. I want to copy this point, Command C, Command V, and copy this point, Command C, Command V, so that these two don't move until they get to here. So it opens up, shows my split screen, boom, split screen. Oh, that's kind of cool. That's kind of, I mean, you know, it's a thing. It's a thing. Is it amazing? No. But it's a fun trick technique that we can do to animate a mask. Some ideas of mask animation that you can do. So, just as an idea. In future lessons, we'll get into ideas of really cutting things out and really get an idea called rotoscoping. We'll talk about those kind of things, but just, you know, the idea that you can animate a mask to make things come on or come off screen as you need to. If you wanted certain things to exist or not exist, you could do some kind of ideas. So there's just some playfulness that we could do. We could take, for example, we could take like USA map, and we could say, hey, let's take USA map, and this would be like a news report thing. We take USA map, Command Alt F, we'll make it bigger, and we want to focus on something that's happening in Iowa. So we'll take a mask here, we'll take the pen tool, draw an Iowa here, you know, just to focus. We'll zoom in really close. We'll get to really focus on where Iowa is. I'm just going to carve this a little sloppy, but I'm doing my best just for now. Let me carve out Iowa. Okay, so I'm going to take this mask here. Again, switch back to selection tool, and I'm going to take this, I'm going to duplicate this layer, and then underneath it, I'm going to take the mask and just delete the mask. I don't need the mask. So now we have Iowa. So we have Iowa on top of Iowa here. And so this could be a thing where we could say, let's take Iowa. Now the trick would be is we'd have to use the pan behind tool, because right now this has the anchor point here. And what I want to do is I want to put the anchor point right in the middle of Iowa. So I'm going to grab the pan behind tool and drag this right to the middle of Iowa. If I hold down Command, it will actually snap right in the middle of the mask, which is really nice. So it's right in the middle of the layer. So now this one is right here. And we could take this and do like an animation where it was like here, this big, and then here we kind of be like, and if we look at Iowa here, sorry, and make Iowa bigger here. And so it'd be kind of this kind of breakout of like Iowa. And then maybe right here as we do this, we can take the opacity of this layer and lower it. So it's like, hey, focus on Iowa. And now we can see how badly Iowa looks. It's not a great cutout job. We could do a better cutout job. Let's go to mask and say mask. And let's just, again, click on, I gotta be on the selection tool. Click this and curve this in a little bit. Again, a little bit of feathering will hopefully solve my problems. Maybe not 9, maybe like a 5 feathering. Maybe like a 3 feathering. 2. Let's do 2. And again, we can tweak this a little better, but we can kind of be like, and if you look here at Iowa, boom. Again, could this be cut out better? Yeah. Could I also cut it in Photoshop? Probably, but you get the idea. I can animate at least. You know, the animation control is really where, you know, you get some really, I don't know, playfulness, I guess you could call it. We could focus this here. There is a technique, I'll show you one more thing. There is a technique. If we went to this and we said, let's take the USA map. We'll get rid of this one. And if I was to draw the name here, I will show you that you could do this. You could say, click here and click here and see, I'm making a shape layer. Oh, I made a mistake. I made a shape layer. Remember I told you if you see a color, you're doing something wrong? I was not clicked on USA map. I wasn't even noticing. I make this mistake all the time. Sorry. If I took the letter C here, and I did this, and I said C, and I made the letter C look like this, and made a C here. And I came around to there and said C. Great, I have a C. And I have a C right here. I have this mask that looks like this. And so what I could do is I could click on this mask path, and we're going to leave this alone right here. We're going to leave this alone just for now. We're going to turn this off. Or we're gonna, we'll turn it off for a second. And I'm gonna grab another USA map. We're just gonna grab another USA map. Same size, same thing. We're gonna Command Alt F and make this comp size. And I'm gonna make another letter like the letter L, for example. And so I'm gonna go from C to L. So L is gonna be much easier. I chose it because it was gonna be easier. Make the letter L, and they're like so. And so this is the letter L. So now I have this USA map that has the letter L. Now I want the letter C to turn into the letter L. This is a trick. Right here I have this mask path. I can turn the stopwatch on for L, right? And then I can turn the stopwatch on for this mask path of the letter C. And so this letter C, this letter L. And what I could do is I could take this, Command C, copy this, go to this one, and right here, turn this into L. And so now it goes from here from C to L. And so now it would transition from one to the other one like so. So the mask path would transition to there. Oh, it looks like I made a second mask. Sorry, not what I meant to do. Do something wrong. Mask path here, I could go from, is this scaling? Oh, this is still scaling up. Let's leave the scale alone. That's fine. Here on this mask path, I could go to here and I could copy this point, Command C, and go to this mask path. You got to be clicked on the mask path. And it would change this to L. So now this would transform from C to L. So the animation, we can get rid of this one now because we don't need it. But now this animation here would go from here, from C, and transition to L. So we can make little transitional points there like so. And then we can go to other layers if we wanted to. It would be more complicated. You know, we could transition from different layers there. And so you can make multiple different masks and then copy the masks over. We could probably have done this in the same layer as well. So if we made another mask here, if we said, let's make this mask none mode, and then we said, let's take another letter like, I don't know, something else I can draw really easily with, there, we'll draw a V. I can click a V, you know, somewhere in here, the letter V, and this would cut out the letter V. So now we have a letter V cut out. And that's mask number 2. But if I can take this mask path from this one, Command C, click on this mask path, go to here, hit V, now it changes to a V. Again, I don't need this mask anymore. But this one, switch this back to add mode, would transition between C to L to V. Now it's making a V in a weird shape. It's making a V in a weird shape of how it's doing this, of what it's referring to in terms of the V. And the reason why that might be is there is a control. I'm going to change the color of this mask to something like white. Is a point here called the first vertex. And when I made this, I started my C this way, and this way, and I drew it kind of this way. And here with the L, the first vertex is actually highlighted. You'll see it. It's highlighted with a circle around it. This is called the first vertex. This one was the first vertex was here. On the third one, the first vertex is here. I kind of think I want the first vertex to be over on this one. So I'm going to click on this point, right click, and go to Mask and Shape Path, Set First Vertex. And that would cause it to, oops, I made another keyframe. Sorry, I wasn't parking the keyframe. And so here, this will cut in. Yeah, this cuts a little bit better, because it keeps that first vertex referring to the first vertex. And when it does that, it makes the change a little bit smoother, a little bit nicer, just as an idea. A thing you can do. We're just going to play with a bunch of ideas of things we can do with masks and ideas we can do with masks. Again, we're going to use masks quite often in these lessons, and so I just want to show you that you can use them. All right, that's going to be about it for us today.